My watch, we got 9 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Would everybody please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance?
They couldn't get it to work, so.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Pat, would you please do the roll call?
Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Okay. Just based on some suggestions we've had, and I'll go ahead and go through this. I'll go through the agenda and kind of tell you which ones you can speak at during the time and which ones we were asking you to hold your questions until the end, okay? Certainly, the member questions ones, you're going to speak. The Cumberland County Commissioners, if there's questions you have of them, they're here, and that's when it's appropriate for you to ask those questions. After that, not on the agenda, but it was a late night breaking thing. We got John Wedgeworth here who's going to talk a little bit about the survey that the county conducted on the roads and give us some feedback on that. And certainly you can ask him questions when he gets up there. He'll do it right after the county commissioners. The President's report will give that. Treasurer's report, there will be no questions during those times. The General Manager's report, no questions during that time. Resort report, no questions during that time. Old business, revised, ask your questions in front. If you have questions of those, we'll try to address them when we're in the discussion there. New business, approval of the sewer availability fees. We will do that, and you can ask questions at the front of that in the very beginning of the meeting. Certainly with remarks, that'll be a dialogue. You'll have an opportunity to make your comments from the floor. There'll be interaction between the board and any questions that come up so that we can get those settled, okay? So that's kind of the cadence here. All right. That in mind, I need a motion to approve the prior board meetings.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the board minutes are approved. Any member questions on the agenda?
Tom Ratcliffe. Just for people in the audience to clarify, because I needed it, the old business, thank you. The old business and new business, you have to ask your questions now. That's what I heard from Greg, so keep that in mind. My questions to the board, first of all, none of the questions for February that I saw were posted on the website.
And there's a reason for that, and I'll be answering those questions in my report.
Okay, thank you. So, first of all, Jason, could you explain, it's audit time, so could you explain to the audience why we do a financial audit, who benefits from it, the cost, and why we don't do something like having a law firm do it versus a CPA? Just general, if you would, please. The next part is during the board opportunity to make comments. Mark, if you could explain to the members, you voted yes on the sewer. Can you explain a little bit of why you voted yes? Monica, you abstained. Could you please elaborate on your extension? And Jason, you voted no, or Isaac, you voted no. If you could explain a little bit to the members your rationale for no, I would appreciate that. And then finally, Mr. Chadwell, I'm curious, and that is what happens or potentially could have happened if we have policies or procedures that are not in compliance with our governing documents or guiding documents. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Ted? Oh, I'm sorry. That was Tom Ratcliffe. I don't know your address, but we want to make sure people know who you are. So Ted, please make sure you state your name.
Ted Landers, 22 Amesbury Court. Just on the financials on page 15, the middle of the page, it was a car for 1225-51, and the description for that was very generic. It said Racket Center Expansion Project. That's kind of a big, wide open thing. Can somebody explain to us what the $187,000 was actually spent for? I mean, I understand it's a racket thing, but specifically what? The line above it, for I think 67,000, talks about tree clearing. That's very clear. This was just kind of a catch-all. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll get into the Cumberland County Commissioners. Joe, I don't know, Colleen's not here? John, are you here? Okay. All right, so would you guys stand up so everybody knows who you are? John Patterson, who's one of our county commissioners.
Hello, John.
And Colleen, and you're going to get introduced.
Brendan Wilson.
Yeah.
6th District.
Okay. And Joe?
Well, hey, I'm Joe Sherrill with the 6th District Support to Fairfield Glade. I'm glad to see John and Colleen and Wendell. We're all here. We wanted to make sure, kind of show presence today and make sure that Fairfield Glade as a community knows that it is, of course, as you all are aware, going to be the primary in the election time. And we're here to support your needs, and if you've got questions, please ask. But the reason I wanted to get up briefly this morning was to, one, mention the colleagues, but also primarily as the road committee chair for the commission. We've been working, of course, with Stanley and John Whitworth, there he is. And I just wanted to make sure that if there's some different road questions that come out and you can't get a hold of Stanley, you're welcome to get a hold of me, and I can try to share that. What the working relationship is between the county commission, road committee, and the highway department itself, and go from there. Thank you.
Does any other commissioner have anything they want to say? No? Okay. All right. John?
Can you hear me now? Good morning, I'm John Wedgeworth, and I have the honor of being the chairperson of the Cumberland County Regional Planning Commission, and also served on the subcommittee that Joe Sherrill launched here about safety on Cumberland County roads. And last month I previewed a survey that was going to come out and asked our residents to be part of that survey, and oh my goodness were you. Thank you very much. 49% of the respondents came from District 9. 49% of the survey. Also, districts 4 and 6 were the next two largest ones, and we have Fairfield Glade residents in both of those districts too. So overwhelming response. So thank you very much for that. Just some preliminary numbers. That survey is not complete yet. We've asked them to look at some other numbers there, a deeper dive. Joe has asked them to do some deeper dive on a couple of numbers there. But a couple of just interesting numbers here. 50% of the survey has lived in Cumberland County more than 10 years, so that's a good indication there. Again, as I said, District 9 had 49% response, so that's very good of the total response. District 6 had 8%, and District 4 had 7%, so again, very good response. The average age was 63% was 65 and older. I guess that's a Fairfield Glade influence there, so maybe not, but probably is. So that's an interesting number there. And then we asked questions about the top safety projects in the county. And these are real interesting here. Quickly, I'm going to go through them. Number one was add or widen shoulders on roads. And I think we all could appreciate that in Fairfield Glade, but we'll get to that later. Roadside vegetation removal. Warning signs, pavement markings, and enhanced asphalt pavement treatments at curves. These are what the response ranked what they thought was important. Number 4 was install turn lanes at intersections. Number 5 is widen travel lanes. Add guardrails. Was number 6. Number 7 is reconfigure intersections. Number 8 was roadway improvements for pedestrians. 9 was roadway improvement for cyclists. And number 10 is the surprise, it's reduce speed limits. You would think that would be first. I guess we all want to go faster, so we'll leave that at number 10. So those are just some quick highlights, but that survey is ongoing, and Joe, we really just now getting to work with the Collier Group is really going to look at all the accidents where they happen, the road conditions. It's a multitude of things they'll run through and look at. But that's just a quick update. If you have any questions about it, come see me after the meeting. Thank you for your time.
Were there any questions? Because this is one area, if you have a question, you can ask it. All right.
Come up.
Please come up because people on streaming can't hear you. And please identify yourself.
Okay. My name is Patrick Voiles, and my question was, how do we get a little more focus on road resurfacing and the need for it? I've heard your response numerous times, Greg. It's not up to us, it's up to the county, right? But how do we get a little more focus on that? It was missing from the survey that I saw.
This survey was not related.
John, you got to
Understand.
speak up here
I
because
understand
nobody's
it
going to
wasn't
hear you.
related to it, however, I've not
And Joe,
really
I think
seen-
you got something to add too.
Yeah, I was hoping that as well.
Yeah, this survey had nothing to do with the conditions of the road,
Right.
where it's paved, the chip and seal. It was geared towards safety. Correct. Joe, you want to answer that one? Conditions of the road?
So you asked about road replacement,
Resurfacing.
resurfacing? Okay.
And how do you get focus on the roads that require it?
Okay, basically, there's two kinds of programs that happen on in the county, the maintenance aspect of the roads and the replacement aspect of the roads. The maintenance aspect is generally what the highway department gets every year for their standard, it ranges, but it can be roughly around $5 million, it pays for their whole administrative process to maintain the roads. Replacement is or complete resurfacing is an aspect, it's pretty simple, it just takes money. And if there's no money, then there's less replacement. So when COVID hit, the state gave a lot of money to different counties, and so this last year, I think we paved as a county roughly 18 miles of different pavement throughout the county. This next year, at this point, the state's only given $250,000. And Fairfield has graciously supported the county with some of the efforts too. So what is the total repaving types of budget for next year? It's going to be low unless we change that through the commission. So how do you get focus? Through the commission. And I keep telling everybody, don't stop showing up and asking to get roads replaced, because that's how you get your commissioners. Now, everybody in this room that's a commissioner is going to step forward and say, we need more money for roads. We've proven that through our votes. But there's 19 of us, or 18 of us, and here you're representing roughly four of us. So we have to get 12 commissioners to say yes to throwing more money at roads. And how do you do that? You show up and give them a reason. You, the people voters.
Just to be clear again, this survey had nothing to do with getting your road chip or sealed or asphalt. Any other questions?
Any other questions at all? Okay. I'm going to feed on to what Joe had to say. We're in the President's report, and I'll give you an update. We did have a meeting last Friday with the county, Fairfield Glade, the county, Planning Commission, commissioners were there, and we're still working on what we call a fact sheet and also a process for us to follow here in terms of the maintenance of and extension of roads. We got pretty far into it again Friday, found some things that in the documents that weren't quite correct. We're trying to correct those. The county has taken some back, and they're looking at their piece of it to get the numbers correct. We're looking at our piece of it to get the numbers correct. But the first big thing, and it's already started, is getting all the non-accepted roads in Fairfield Glade to the county for acceptance. Now, that's going to take a while, but we are working on that right now, and we're doing it internally first because we have to get through all of those roads first, and then we'll be working with mainly the Planning Commission to start off with, to make sure that we go through the correct process. Oh, We'll go through the correct process, thank you. So that's in the works. We're working with the county hand in hand, trying to get that stuff accomplished. When we know exactly what we're doing, other than just submitting the roads, which we have to do anyway for acceptance by the county, we'll have a presentation for the whole group with the county and us both here so that we can answer all of your questions about it. But we need to get that stuff all worked out before we bring it in, okay? All right, so other items on across the board. Wyndham update, there's been some stuff going around. I've gotten a few phone calls and emails on it that Wyndham has filed. That is not true. We talked to our bankruptcy attorneys this week, and we got a formal statement from them that they did a national search on Wyndham, and Fairfield Glade homeowners associations have not filed for bankruptcy. So it has not happened yet. So if you're hearing people talking about that a portion of them have or they have filed, it's just not true. So please take that into account. As we hear things, we'll let you know. There's not really much to report. They did pay the March assessments, so that's been done. But in terms of where they're going with all this, we don't have any update on that. We won't until they file. Okay. I want to point out that April 15th, there's our Get Involved meeting. It'll be here in the center. We really appreciate people coming out for that. It's a good way for you to understand what mainly, this one's more focused as the other one was focused on the info fair, was focused more on the internal Fairfield Glade committees and that type of thing. This is much more external. So please feel free. It's going to come here. It's from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we'd love to have you come in and talk to the people that are going to be here and see how you might get involved with some other activities, not only here at Fairfield Glade, but in Crossville and also in the county. There are a couple questions that were left over from last month that I want to address so that everybody gets an answer. One was when the members and send comments through the website in the policies and plans under review, can they receive an acknowledgement or receipt so they know the message was actually received? We've put that in place. So if you make a comment now, you'll be getting a receipt. You won't get an answer necessarily because when Pat gets them, all she can really do is say, we received them, and then it's up to other people to answer the questions. But you will get an acknowledgement that we got your email. The other question was, can we see the questions and comments others submit for policies under review? Board talked about this yesterday, and we're not going to do that. There's privacy concerns. There's also concerns of how just talking about some of this stuff, we get a lot of general comments like, I don't like a policy. That doesn't tell you very much about what the reasons why are. So the board talked about this yesterday, and we're not going to do that. We've lost the heads up and some transparency by not having the work sessions. Would they be reinstated? We talked about that again, and the answer is no. The problem that we had with the workshop public portion of the meetings was it was almost a repeat of what you hear today. So as a result of that, we're not going back to that forum. We're going to keep the executive pieces, but what we're going to do starting next month is we will give you all the agenda items that we're talking about in there, unless it's a personnel matter or something that is not for public knowledge at that time. But we'll give you all the topics that we talk about, so you'll at least anyway be able to know what the topics were, okay? Another question that we had was about a noise policy. We've done research on that. The county does not have one. City of Crossville does. They're the only entity that we know of in the county, other than and Crossville being the only one that has a policy like that. So we talked about it as a board, and we're not going to pursue a noise policy. There's just too many variables there, not the least of which is defining what is noise. All of us have a different tolerance for that, and we could get our police officers tied up with in things like this on and on and on and on, and that's really not what we really wanted them spending time on. So that was the answer to that one. One other thing, and then I'll turn it on over to the next one, the treasurer's report. You may have received this pamphlet this morning when you walked in. This is not an authorized pamphlet from the Fairfield Glade Community Club. The Committee for Member Awareness has no affiliation with the Fairfield Glade Community Club, and I would be very careful when you read it about what's fact and what may not be fact. So I just give you that as a piece of information so that you know that we're not behind this in any way, shape, or form, and it's not an authorized publication from our perspective. So with that, we'll go into the treasurer's report. Oh, and Tom, I know you sent some questions in. Through the course of this meeting, I think you'll get those answers, okay? All right.
Okay, good morning. The financial results through February 28th, 2026 reflect a strong start to the year characterized by favorable variances in both sewer and POA and amenities. In sewer operations, generated a net surplus of $55,865, exceeding the budget by $20,620. Revenue totaled $462,816, slightly trailing budget by $5,399. Expenses controlled effectively at $406,951, coming in $26,019 favorable to the budget. This was primarily driven by lower than anticipated payroll costs and repairs. POA and Amenities Division reported a net subsidy of $863,268, which is $194,488 favorable compared to the budgeted subsidy of $1,057,756. Assessments and other revenue outperformed expectations. Cost of sales remained favorable by $37,144, and expenses totaled $3.31 million, showing a $61,176 saving against budget. Some of the highlights: golf continues to be a strong performer with revenue $29,792 over budget due to higher than anticipated rounds and merchandise sales. Food and beverage continued to face challenges due to the facility closures for repairs and weather, resulting in a subsidy of $83,631, higher than budgeted. However, the F&B numbers are still being impacted by Bobby Jones links with the contract terminating February 19th. The April F&B report will show numbers for March, which will be the first full month under FGCC management. Recreational Division, which is a newly created division for this fiscal year, combining racket sports with the recreational amenities like mini golf, pools, parks, etc., continues to provide significant value to the community, though it currently requires a net subsidy of $16,406. While this is $25,438 unfavorable variance compared to budgeted surplus, it represents a stable performance relative to the same period last year. Operating revenues were trailing by approximately 15%. Total expenses were managed effectively at $82,985, coming in $18,756 favorable to the budget. The revenue drivers, obviously the Racket Center remains the primary revenue engine for the division, contributing $60,447 year to date. Dartmoor Marina and St. George Marina followed, generating $17,984 and $9,744 respectively. The key to our recreation division is that these amenities continue to see diverse community and public use, from our parks and mini golf to the outdoor pools. While seasonal factors like weather typically impact early year revenues, the division remains well positioned for the upcoming peak season. Amenities with lower cost recovery like parks, mini golf, and the pools are important for maintaining our 501c4 status, as they help maintain our social welfare mission. With our cash position and capital investment, we maintain a healthy cash position with $15.8 million in total cash and equivalents. Capital spending year-to-date is $1.2 million. The other thing I want you to notice is on the balance sheet, we've established a new fund for the sanitary truck replacement. We're setting aside $5,000 a month so that at the end of a 5-year period, we'll have a significant chunk of cash to buy a new truck. And as of March 1st, the club consists of 17,972 total properties, with 67% of those classified as billable. In summary, the club's financial health remains robust, while certain amenity areas face operational headwinds. Strong assessment collections and disciplined expense management across the PUA and sewer divisions have positioned us well for the remainder of the fiscal year. Thank you.
Okay. We'll move into the general manager's report.
If I could just dovetail on that real quick. I believe, Tom, you submitted a specific questions as far as what areas of the financials relative to golf, food and beverage, and racket should be focused on. I appreciate the question. Revenues and expenses. No. Seriously, though, I mean, it does boil down to, with golf, we want to watch carefully the monthly rounds actual relative to budget. The budget across all of our amenities is certainly a first-year approach without Wyndham. We looked at very carefully as part of the budget process for 2026 to what were the average incomes, revenue streams from Wyndham to these various amenities, and remove those from the budget. So now we will be looking carefully to see the member participation and use relative to our proposed budget. So monthly rounds, actual versus budget, average players per day, and the average dollar per round is something we monitor carefully to see if we're staying on our projections and meeting what we had anticipated through member play, as well as non-member play. And then looking at golf package rounds for the month versus last year, because we obviously want to see, there's been some marketing efforts by Mary Jo, and they're ongoing, but we have done a lot of outreach to the former Wyndham guests that were here that we knew played golf. We were able to filter that out through North Star and have reached out to them and letting them know we're open, we're here. She was just at the Novi Michigan Golf Show, which is a huge golf show in Michigan, and had, I believe it was over 500 people came to her booth, our booth, to share their excitement about Fairfield Glade. And so we are looking, we currently, I know, last report I got from Jeff, through Tennessee Mountain Golf and Bertram Golf packages, we are completely booked through on the weekends through mid-July. It's the midweek bookings that we are looking to fill, and those are, we're really reaching out to the former Wyndham guests because they have more flexibility. The golf packages tend to be groups that come on the weekends and do a Friday, Saturday, Sunday golf blitz. But we will be monitoring those to see, you know, how we're doing with our golf packages. But so far, all the indications are good. You'll probably be seeing a lot of ads through streaming, YouTube, Roku, Amazon Prime, others. We are making an effort through a firm out of Knoxville to do streaming ads, letting those know in the Knoxville and Chattanooga areas primarily that we're here and we're available for daily play, so please come. We also have limited accommodations we can assist with. So that effort is going out. It's the estimate from the firm is based on, there's numerous sources, and we'll be sharing the presentation that Mary Jo, the marketing that she's doing with you. It'll be available on the website. She just presented yesterday at the board workshop, but it's just shy of 1.4 million people will be reached in the next 90 to 120 days through that effort, which is impressive, and it's the biggest bang you can get for the fewest dollars nowadays. So it was a very smart strategy on her part to reach out to that. So we are continuing to focus our marketing efforts, letting people know we're here and encouraging them to come and be a part of Fairfield Glade. Because as we know very well, all of our guests that come That's our greatest source for future home buyers. With regards to food and beverage, on the revenue side, we'll be watching covers, member participation, the cover counts. Check averages are always interesting to monitor as well. We also have cost of sales and our margins, relative cost of sales, items that we'll be using and controlling on the management side to meet those goals are things like menu engineering, pricing, product purchasing, waste control, and the like. All of that goes into proper management and meeting our cost of sales. It is a challenging economy. Prices are, as you're well aware, for a number of reasons that are on the news every day, are in flux. And oil and gas influences everything. So we're going to be monitoring our wholesale food costs and our goods that we receive and be trying to control prices as best as possible. And finally, obviously, labor. We'll be monitoring our labor levels relative to budget. On the racket side, course utilization percentage is one of the things we look at, particularly as we move into the spring and outdoor courts are available. We want to look at what are the percentage of utilization relative to the total hours of available court time. And we do that on both the pickleball side as well as the tennis side, because that not only equates to revenue, but to member use patterns, member satisfaction. Event participation is also will be monitored on the racket side, because event participation, and we can do more events to help offset any lack of daily court utilization. We can try to boost those participation levels and revenue. And then, of course, finally, expenses, which goes without. But, you know, we are in the member satisfaction business. That's how we operate. That's the way the ledger is built. And so member satisfaction and support is critical. So we look forward to a robust year. And now I'll share some things on the GM side, GM update. Got a little drone presentation here for you on the capital projects we have going on right now. I want to thank Shannon Turner and John Blankenship for their assistance in these drones footages that they've put together for us. Can we cue up the emergency management? Okay, this is the fire station emergency management facility. The contractor, I'm pleased to say, has received approved drawings from the state fire marshal's office. So that is behind us now. We're all cleared and ready to proceed. All inspections, footers, risers, and plumbing have passed. If you were out or and about Wednesday morning early at 6 a.m., you would have seen the concrete pouring started on Wednesday. Section of the footers foundation was established, was done on Wednesday. The second pouring will be on Tuesday, March 30th, and then the final will be on Wednesday, April 1st. Following the concrete pours of the foundation, the masons will continue laying concrete block to separate the different bays and living quarters and offices, so it'll start to define the actual space, usage space of the facility. And the framing crews will also begin laying out the walls and starting to erect the structure. So we are going to be looking forward. We were fortunate in the sense that the delay, the unforeseen delay for the state fire marshal to review the plans coincided with some bad weather. So we didn't lose weather was built into the schedule for the project all along. So we did not lose as much time as, we're about 2 or 3 weeks behind at this juncture, but it's not a significant delay. That could be made up, according to the contractor, as we move forward in the project over the course of the summer. The Druid Club turned right now. There's a drone on, it is really, as you've been by there, or as you can see from this drone, is taking form. We are, the roofers have put in most of the metal roofing now. This is from last week. this drone footage. There's progress every day. It keeps steaming forward. They're really moving well. But the metal roofing materials have, on the higher sections of the roof, are being installed in the coming days, but the flat roof areas are nearly complete. All the plumbing work is progressing well, with inspections expected soon. HVAC ductwork, drains, and piping are currently being installed. Fire and security alarm systems are now in the early stages of installation. Most of the communication cabling has been completed. Electrical work continues to advance throughout the building. The kitchen and bar equipment has been ordered and will be delivered once the contractor gives the go-ahead. All the main electrical, gas, and generator feeds are being prepared for installation. And concrete work for the veranda and the remaining areas of the building are expected to begin shortly. The painters are continuing to prepare siding for installation, which has begun in select areas. Interior sheetrock installation is scheduled to begin the second week of April. So it's continuing on schedule and on budget, which is great news as well. We are in the FF&E portion, which is the furnitures, fixtures, and equipment stage. We're going through selections, and we'll have an update next month to share with you on a lot of the interior finishes, furnishings, and so forth. So it's exciting, and we'll keep you updated. Now, on the food and beverage side, I wanted to share with you a program which I had told you was coming. This is introducing our Fairfield Glade Preferred Dining Program. This will replace the quarterly program that used to exist, but this is a loyalty program to reward members who support food and beverage. As you can see, it's a one-time membership fee of $100. This is optional. If you don't care to join, you don't have to. But it's a program that is optional for interested members and offers monthly savings based on dining activities. Additional perks of the program are that you are able to charge your food and beverage to an account, to your member account, and you will get a monthly statement at the end of the month. And basically that statement will be adjusted based on your use. So if you spend $100 or more in a given month, you'll get a 20% dining credit against that cost. So you'll see that credit, and then on the balance at the bottom. Likewise, if you spend $50 to $99 a month, you'll get a 10% discount. And I remind you, we also, once the contract with Fairfield, with Bobby Jones Links ended, we did a price adjustment analysis across all menus, and I shared that with you before, that prices went down over 11% across all menus, including wine menus as well. But with the additional perks, in addition, those that are in the preferred dining program will be allowed to bring their personal wine in, subject to a $25 corkage fee per bottle, which is standard. But we've had a lot of members that have their own wine cellars of interest and want to be able to enjoy their wines, and we will accommodate that for preferred dining members. Also, we're going to be looking forward to offering special dining events such as wine dinners and other featured menu options and focused dining dinners on particular culinary ethnic menus and the like. But we'll have preferred dining program events that you will get first refusal on for reservation purposes. And of course, you'll get priority consideration for other club events as well. So this will start first of next week. And as you see, you will contact member records just like you would to get your member cards. And we will issue you a special card for preferred dining members. And you will then, when you go to dine at the club, you'll just present that at the end of your meal to the service staff, and they will ring it up on your member charge, and you go forward. So, yes, sir.
So for the $100 a month, is that food only, or is that food and alcohol? Does it also?
Food and
include
beverage.
Food and beverage, and corkage fee as well, so any dollar spent within the, I'm sorry, Ted Landers, spent counts towards the $100, correct?
The corkage fee will not.
Okay, and I will tell you, the $25 corky fee might be standard in large cities, but it is not standard in the area. That's a high dollar amount.
Well, it's based on it's cheaper than our house wine. So, I mean, it's 20 to 25 is standard in the industry. Sorry if you disagree.
I'm Jessica Speakerville. Is that per household or per member?
That is per membership, yes.
Oh,
So if you have two, no, it's per membership. So however your membership is set up, it's per membership. So it's you and your spouse are on that membership. It will give you your charges as a family, as a couple, et cetera. So however you're billed currently for assessments and the like is what covers it. So I'm just informing you of this at the board meeting. The email blast communication will be coming first of the week, and you can start signing up for it. So we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, what the heck? I'll go ahead and mention. I was going to save it for the next board member meeting, but that might be a little late. We are in the process. Chef David, who's on board now, along with Greg Smith, they're completely redoing all of our current menus. So we will have all new menus rolling out I gave them a deadline of May 1st, but hopefully it'll be the latter part of April. So we can look forward to that as well. Thank you.
Okay, Mark.
Really not that much to report. Greg already stole my thunder. Thanks, Greg. But no, folks, in today's society, don't believe what you read. Research it before you start jumping on these pages and making comments. Because quite frankly, sometimes it makes you look stupid. And I'm taking that myself too. Make sure you research it, look at it. Because I got a number of phone calls, have you filed, have you not? No, we haven't. Well, Joe said you did. Well, Joe's not me. I get the information from the lawyers. So if you want to come to me, I'm here Monday through Friday. I got some free time right now. So we have a doorbell now on the front of the building, so feel free to ring the doorbell and just give me time to get from the back of the building to the front. I'll be glad to sit down and talk to you. Okay? Thank you.
This is really important because there are a lot of rumors running around, and most of them are not true. And don't get ahead of the skis in terms of what Wyndham is doing or the HOAs are doing, because we don't know. And anything you're hearing about that at this point is pure conjecture. So we can do a lot in this room and on the people listening and going to be watching later to make sure that we keep the facts out there and not try to start figuring out what all these strategies are going to be, because they're unknown at this point. So I'm just piggybacking on what Mark said. If you want to know what's going on, we'll try to tell you, and we'll update you every month at this meeting for sure. Okay? All right.
Greg,
Yeah.
the reserve study carryover?
Yeah, we're going to get to that. That's going to be an old business. All right. Old business. We do want to talk about the carryovers for the capital, the reserve study. MK, you want to talk about that, or Jason? Because we need a motion on this one to approve. All right?
So the carryovers, Greg, that we're requesting at this board meeting are different from last board meeting where they were strictly capital carryovers. These are reserve study carryovers for from 25. So we have several projects that were either started and weren't able to be completed, or we felt that they were important enough from our 25 budget to be carried over into 26. So with that being said, we have two tranches of carryovers that we're requesting. We have reserve capital carryover, which totals 73,883. And then we have several small projects in our reserve repair and maintenance, which amounts to $68,638. Those are the two requested amounts, similar to last month, that we are, as an organization, requesting from the board to be carried over in the 26 budget. Thank you.
Jason, I just need to get clarification. This report, a little bit different than what we saw. Need some clarification. The capital reserve, you said was 73? The report that was handed out says 94.
So excuse me, the amounts that I have for the three projects that were for the capital, which is two for the library and one for Dorchester, amount to $73,883.
Okay, so the report we handed out to the folks in the audience says 4 projects, this paper copy.
Right, there was an adjustment based on the golf where we eliminated the golf carryover and marked it as complete.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the carryover for the reserve capital of $73,883 and the carryover for reserve repair and maintenance of $68,638.
I second.
Okay. Any other conversation? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Finally, the revised fence policy. Isaac.
All right, so the fence policy was posted for public comment, and there were comments from 7 different homeowners, and the committee reviewed all of those comments and has sent it to the board as it was posted to be voted on. And so I'm making a motion that we add or pass the fence policy as it was posted.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any other questions, conversation with the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're done. New business, sewer fees.
With the passage of the updated sewer resolution and availability fee policy, the board will be approving the following. The 2026 availability fee structure is $29 per linear foot for lot frontage that is less than 18 feet and greater than 75 feet. The maximum for a single lot with frontage greater than 75 feet is $2,175. The minimum for a single lot with frontage less than 18 feet is $522, and $10 per linear foot for merged lot frontage, with the primary lot being calculated as above. So I move that we accept these fees.
All right. Got a motion?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second.
Any questions or comments from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. The next one is one that we talked about yesterday and the workshop. The letters to the property owners have gone out yesterday. They probably won't receive them till tomorrow or Monday, but it's close enough that we don't want to necessarily wait for another month to make sure that we get this going. And what I'm talking about is the extension on the that we're voting for. What we're not going to do is make the location known, because we really want the property owners that are involved here to get the letter before anybody else knows where the location is. So I know this is a little bit kludgy from that perspective, but we need to get started on this, and there's some conversations that need to happen with some people around it. So we're going to act on this today. Do I have a motion to approve the engineering study?
I make that motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any other comments? The one thing I will tell you is this is just the first piece. The engineering study tells us whether or not it makes sense to put sewer there. So we'll be revisiting this at other times, okay? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Remarks by board members.
I guess I can start out. Tom asked us why we voted the way we did on the sewer policy, and I'll start. I abstained. I agreed with the sewer policy, and I talked to my coworkers about that. But what I didn't like is I thought we needed a little more time to hear from the community, which we did hear from you for several hours. And not only that, but listen to it and also respond to it. And I just felt I needed more time. So I couldn't vote against it because I do agree that it's right. But I do think that we need a little more time for the community to hear us on why we did it. And I think that goes along with the question that was asked of Kenneth also.
Any other comments by the board?
To follow up with Tom, Tom asked me the same question, and you'll find out. This will be relative. You'll find in my dealings with the community club and my years of experience with community clubs that anything I do because it best serves the community in general.
And then I was asked that question why I voted no, and I mean, the short answer is I believe the actual impact of that change materially impacted the property values for a number of lot owners, making what was essentially guaranteed access to sewer become a subjective board decision.
Okay.
Tom had sent some questions in ahead of time, and I just wanted to address one of them. He had asked if the Strategic Planning Committee had been involved in developing the RFP for the Master Reserve Study. They were provided the opportunity to review the RFP and make suggestions, and we incorporated their suggestions into the final product.
Okay. I've got one comment, and you'll see it hopefully next month on the agenda here. I think we're close to a dock policy. It's been a long time coming. We've been working with an attorney over in Knoxville who's a specialist in the IRS regulations, because we had to be very careful how we worded this so it didn't affect our 504C standing. And we've gotten the letter from them. It's still in draft, and we're going to talk about getting that as a non-draft letter now. We have a policy and an agreement that will go along with that. But at the end of the day, and I'm not going to go through all the details right now, we'll go through more of that next month. But at the end of the day, this will allow the property owner who is owner of the dock, or I'm sorry, who has a dock there, will transfer the property ownership to that individual, which means that the business of everybody being able to use a dock will go away. And it'll also, since the property will be transferred to the homeowner or the property owner, it will allow them to go out to the insurance companies and get insurance. So this is a big step forward. It's taken us a lot longer than I ever thought it would, but at least anyway now we have what I think is a solution that the people that had docks wanted to have, and we finally figured out a way to do it. Now, there's going to be some other things in there, like if you don't keep the dock up, you're still under our policies in terms of all of that kind of thing, and we can take back ownership back to the club if you don't do the things you're supposed to be doing with the club, with the dock. But hopefully that won't be a situation that we're going to get into very often, if ever. And the other thing is that will there also be a yearly procedure where you have to show that you do have your insurance, which is something we've gotten away from. And that's going to be important to us so that we know that the liability is covered. So that'll come back next month, hopefully, but we've made good progress on that.
I have one more thing.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify what the mission of the Policy Review Committee is. The purposes are to review policies, to make suggested revisions to policies, and at the board's direction to create policies. It's an advisory committee to the board. It's not an oversight committee. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from board members? Hearing none, are there comments from the floor? And I remind you, please state your name and.
Do we
your
still only
address.
get 3 minutes?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna ask, Susan Taylor. I'm gonna ask that no comments be made until I'm done, because I want my 3 minutes. First of all, last month's board meeting, I think the board's attorney owes the community an apology for his disrespectful behavior to the members. I also think that we need to consider hiring an attorney to represent the community, not the board. So we have input into what goes on. That's one thing. Second of all, Monica and MK, I voted for you when you ran for your election. You promised transparency. I haven't seen one bit of change, and I'm so sorry I voted for you. That's one. That's one more thing. This is not addressed to Isaac or Scott. I've lived here 10 years. I have never been so embarrassed by our board as I was last month. It was unbelievable. And now I know why Crossville thinks Fairfield Glade people are the way they are. It's because of you guys.
Okay, any other comments? All right, we'll go Jerry, and I'm sorry I don't know your name. We'll have you go next, and then Tom will have you go third. Okay, okay, fourth, all right? Okay, well, we'll get to the four, and then they'll see where we are. Okay, Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry Miller, 185 Berkshire Loop. Greg, I can't let you get away with what you said about the booklet. You do it every time we try to make a contribution here. It's a non-political compilation of factual material about this community that is useful for everyone who wants to read it, including newcomers and prospective property owners. This was an update of a booklet that was done in 2018 with the board's participation in its development. We expanded it. It's factual. There's nothing non-factual about it. It's a useful document for anyone, especially prospective owners. Third, the real estate companies love it. They said it's everything about this community found in all in one place. They love it for the clients and prospectives. So this board should welcome this thing as a tool to get more people here to live here in the Fairfield Glade. Last, and maybe most importantly, Greg, we asked you and Bill Ward three times, to give us a director or staff member to work with us in the final draft to make sure it is everything factual in it. You did not respond either time, and neither did Bill Ward. So it takes a lot of guts for you said, we don't know if it's factual or not, it's not worth the paper it's written on. We spent hours developing this thing, hours, just so you know. And I'm tired of this stuff, okay?
Jerry,
That's it.
please keep your voice down, okay?
I can speak on my behalf.
Yep.
All of that information and more is readily available to all prospects, realtors, and new residents at Fairfield Glade. We have that information at no charge available at the member records office, the administration office. We send out new packets welcoming all of our new residents. We have at least 5 functions throughout the year welcoming in which we provide hospitality and opportunities to meet with other residents. So all of that is performed through my staff. I do not It is up to the board if they choose to want to partner with some outside group in those communication efforts. But as speaking as the general manager, my staff and I provide that information and more and opportunities to welcome and recruit. Mary Jo, it does a tremendous job. It is, I will say, very difficult to continue to market and recruit negatively. We focus on the positive. And that's my role and my statement in response to you, and that is not my call to partner with your organization and your group. The name Fairfield Glade Community Club, furthermore, is a registered trademark. It is not available for people to use on their private, personal documents. It is a registered word mark. There's also links to a website on that flyer that is not club affiliated and not club has no say or control of, and personal opinions are put on there that are, quite frankly, your rights to opinions, but are not sanctioned and helpful to the efforts of the club.
Bill, in response to that, I'm not saying you don't, the information is not available. It is available, and you make it available, and that's what you should do. All I'm saying, the real estate company is saying, it's all here. What you provide is here, all in one place, that they can say, here is about this community. They don't have to go searching for medical records or other records or other, it's all here. That's when the real estate companies are saying that. I'm not saying it.
Well, the information I get from real estate is most real estate activities occur online nowadays. That is their primary source of prospects and information. We support that. We have a very robust website and a whole dedicated area to newcomers and prospective members. So, you know, I respect what you want to do, and but you cannot, in my opinion, this is a board club, but take the club's name and use it in a way
where are we doing that?
Right on the
What
cover.
are you talking
right on the
about?
cover.
Right
It
on
says
the cover.
Fairfield Glade Community Club. That is a registered word mark.
word mark. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not gonna,
It's a
I'm not
fact.
gonna.
You're
I mean,
not.
I can't, we can't write anything, ever use the name Fairfield Glade Community Club in anything anybody does because it's trademarked? Is that what you're saying? Mr. Chadwell, wake up. Is that what you're saying?
Your time's up, Jerry.
Jerry, we don't need to treat people that way. We didn't treat you that way.
Oh, Jesus. I'm not treating anybody anyway.
Yes, you did. You just said, Mr. Chadwell, wake up. He wasn't asleep.
The use of that name on the front of the booklet is a violation of trademark law.
Well, I didn't know it was a trademark.
Well, you should have asked.
Oh, you know, you guys are hopeless.
Thank you. All right. We got number 2.
My name is Robin Boyles. I live at 42 Kingsbury Circle. I have been a lawyer for the last 36 years, specializing in business and nonprofit law. I have been general counsel to several large national and international trade associations comprised of many members. I am primarily a writer of the foundational documents on which corporations and associations are built, and I help my clients make smart decisions for the long term. Last fall, I applied to become a member of the Policy Review Committee. Being on the committee would allow me to utilize my skills and talents for the betterment of my community. What associations and businesses have paid handsomely for throughout my career, I offered to Fairfield Glade for free. I have also written hundreds of NDAs. I was concerned with the use of NDAs by this board, as I firmly agree with the focus report published in October that stated requiring NDAs for board members and committees is often viewed as a tool to hide information and a barrier to attracting talented volunteers. That focus report's recommendation was to remove the blanket NDAs or rewrite them to cover only legally confidential information. This is an important step to rebuilding trust and encouraging member participation. Keeping this in mind, I asked during my interview whether I would be required to sign an NDA. I was told I would not. I was chosen to be a member of the Policy Review Committee, and I understand it's a board advisory committee, not an oversight committee. During our first meeting in January, the entire committee was told that we would not be required to sign an NDA. At that meeting, I was elected chairperson. Over the next several weeks, we have proceeded to do a significant amount of work, completing and submitting to the board a substantial rewrite of the bylaws to make them simpler to understand and more member-focused. Recently, this board has reneged on its agreement to us and told us that to remain on the committee, we would need to sign an NDA. I offered a straightforward compromise, taking out the overbroad and vague language and leaving 99% of the original NDA as it is. I received no response to that suggestion. Later, a board member asked me to draft an agreement that would prevent members from discussing work in progress, which I happily did and submitted within 24 hours. My proposed revision stated that committee members, quote, may not report opinions shared during meetings or share work that is still in progress, end quote. Again, I received no response. Yesterday, my committee was informed that we would have to sign the original NDA. We were told that signing the NDA was required, quote, to ensure open conversation without fear of premature introduction of opinions and options to the public, end quote. Twice, I have offered straightforward, reasonable compromises that have included prohibitions on discussing what occurs in those meetings and works in progress, which is exactly what we were told this board was most concerned with. I am severely troubled by the change in position after the committee began its work. I am also troubled by this board's failure to respond to my offers and its unwillingness to work with me to reach a mutually agreeable solution. Frankly, I find it absolutely absurd that the board would rather have us resign than work with us to find an acceptable solution. I did learn this morning that this board position may be because I had the gall to meet with a board member at his request. And I suggest that I would meet with any board member to discuss this or any other matter. I think I have a lot to bring to this community. I continue to be willing to work with the board, Mr. Chadwell, or anyone else to come up with an acceptable solution. But if you are not interested or willing to do so, I formally resign from the Policy Review Committee.
Okay. Hold on, we got an order here. I think you're third, Tom. Well, we got others behind you that we named too. All right, go on ahead.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Shelton, and I live at 121 Spring Lake Drive. I've only been in the community for about 1.5 years, so I'm really trying to still get my feet wet here. I work full-time still, and if I'm going to volunteer my time on a committee while I still have to work, I have to have a passion for what I'm doing. And I really did when I set up to join the Policy Review Committee. I wanted to dedicate time to improved communications. I wanted things to come from our committee through the board so that the members would understand why we did it. My why in joining the committee was I want to help with communications. In my professional role, I've been asked to sign NDAs for a number of different reasons, but when it is required, I can point to exactly why I'm being asked to sign it. Oftentimes, it's things like protecting intellectual property, discussing new designs for a product launch, or even when I leave a company, if I have information that the company doesn't want disclosed after I leave. Once our committee formed and began its work, I volunteered to be the secretary of the Policy Review Committee. And it's a rather busy position. I volunteered because I felt like we were going to publish work products, and I wanted to have some insight into how we communicated with the community. At one point in one of our meetings during the rollout of the sewer policy, I made a comment that I didn't feel that they were going far enough in discussing the why with the community. I was told that the Policy Review Committee could make recommendations to the board, but they didn't have to listen to them. So I kind of wonder why they need a Policy Review Committee if our advice and recommendations fall on deaf ears. Next, I want to read an excerpt from an email that I received yesterday that prompted me to be here today. To ensure open conversation without fear of premature introduction of opinions and options to the public, an NDA is required. So my question is, what are you afraid of? What is the fear? Next, the comments, and Robin has already made these comments. The focus report suggested that the community was concerned about NDAs and their lack of transparency. It suggests that if you don't, if you continue to have everyone covered under an NDA, you're going to lose good talent. You're not going to attract people to these committees to work for you. And you are watching that play out in real time. There were 16 applicants to the Policy Review Committee. The top 7 were selected and approved. We had an early resignation, and today, because of the board's fear of not having 100% control over the narratives in the community, you are losing others. Given the deadline that was placed on us to either sign or resign, I am here today with no other choice but to resign. And this makes me angry because I was passionate, and I'm very passionate right now about what this committee could have done had we been given the chance to work with this board, and that you would at least take the time to hear us. In closing, I will make one prediction. I doubt this board will ever impanel another committee that doesn't require an NDA. And I think that's horrible. There are things we can talk about that don't have to have us under an NDA, and this community wants transparency, and you're not giving it to them. Any questions from you to me? Thank you.
Hold on. We do have an order. Tom? Well, then we're going to go over to number 4, okay?
Matt Phillips. So back in April and March of 2025, I purchased 3 lots on Malvern Road that were Tier A lots, and this is concerning the sewer policy that has been changed. So they was Tier A lots, and I know that the policy has changed, but I'm just trying to understand how I'm paying Tier A amenity fees and the Tier A price for a lot when at the time had the availability of the sewer, and we just recently submitted to have these 3 lots built upon, and they was denied because sewer's not available now. So I'm just trying to get an understanding of why I'm paying Tier A fees and I paid the Tier A price when sewer was available, and now I can't build on those lots. So.
What are the addresses of your lots?
Yeah.
247 Malvern, 245 Malvern, and 241.
Yeah, we discussed those yesterday. You should be hearing more about that shortly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, come on.
Good morning. My name is Steve Locker. I live at 150, excuse me, Delbridge Lane. I am a member of the Policy Review Committee. Scott, I think you know how badly I wanted to serve on that committee. I shared that with you and Isaac during the interview. I echo and support everything that Robin and Lisa have shared this morning. My credentials don't match theirs, but nonetheless, my career has included years of writing policies, reviewing policies, and ensuring that they struck an effective balance between meeting the needs of the employees in my organizations and furthering the mission of the organization and supporting its values. In our first meeting, this committee, as one of its highest priorities, established as a guiding principle the fact that it would work as, and it would function as a group of people who were member-centric. We committed ourselves to focusing our work, our actions, our thoughts, our decisions on the members of this community. You had 4 opportunities to tell us that an NDA was going to be required, and you didn't. Scott, in your email, and I find it interesting that independently, the 3 of us has focused on exactly the same sentence. quoting, "To ensure open conversation without fear of premature introduction of opinions and options to the public, an NDA is required." This committee, in a period of weeks, completely rewrote and updated this community club's bylaws without being covered by an NDA. To my knowledge, I am not aware of a single issue with our premature introduction of opinions or options. When, after completing our 6th and final draft of the bylaws, we were told then that we had to sign an NDA. We asked in that meeting multiple times, what's changed? What has changed since we were selected to the committee and now, weeks later, when we're being asked to sign an NDA? We never got an answer to that. I want to also emphasize that, as was the case with the sewer policy last month, the committee did not have any input into the fence policy that was approved today. We asked the board in our first meeting for the opportunity to review and provide input into the 4 policies, including the fence policy and sewer policy, and we were told no. I want to just spend a minute focusing on Robin, an attorney of 36 years. Is there anybody here who thinks that an attorney with 36 years of experience needs to sign an NDA? After 36 years in the business profession of law. All community clubs will have all community club members will have an opportunity to vote for new board members this summer. I encourage you all to get to know the candidates and whether they are aligned with the members of this community. I will not serve a board that doesn't trust its committee members, is unwilling to be transparent with its members, and with one exception, appears to act as if it is aligned with the declarant. So please accept my resignation. I hope this action that we're taking today further opens this community and its members to how this board lacks trust in committee members who volunteer their time to serve on committees, and how this board fails miserably in its commitment to transparency. I resign.
Thank you. Okay, Tom, I know you have some comments, and we'll get you next, okay?
Tom Ratcliffe, 157 Devonshire Drive. Wow, a lot going on. Mr. Chadwick, I didn't hear the answer to my question from you, and the reason I ask, and I appreciate the comments by the board members for your response, I would have liked to have heard it last week. I walked away from that meeting last month, totally confused and trying to figure out, at the end of the day, what's the issue? And Mary Kay, you did a nice job on your presentation. I couldn't see a lot of it and how it was set up, and therefore I asked you to get it back. And what I dissected basically was, okay, we are trying to take, and what I assumed, our policies and procedures are out of compliance. Did I get that right, Mary Kay?
It was in conflict.
In
The language in the CNR said one thing, and that's the governing document, and what was in the policy was contrary to that.
Okay, so therefore, and that goes back to my question to Mr. Chadwell, what happens when, what does that mean at the end of the day? Because the board was attempting to avoid that conflict, okay? But at the end of the day, if you didn't do it, what happens? Is there a legal issue involved in this? Okay, and I'm asking that because as members, are we at risk of lawsuits and so forth if we're not? None of this, and my point is, none of this was, we were being told, any of it, of what were the ramifications, a lot of questions of the whys and so forth on it. And I go back to the point, there's a lot of skeletons in our closet, awful lot. And when this is going to constantly come up, and it goes back to the compliance audit, my suggestion on that, and I'm even stronger about it today. This board does not have the time nor the willingness to be transparent, to be going through all our documents, okay, and seeing where we're in, quote, compliance, as I would say. We need an outside firm, legal firm, I'm not talking about a financial firm, a legal firm, to go through our documents, send them through the committee as it was designed, and their recommendations, what they find. It is no different than a financial audit. Jason, I asked you those questions, you didn't respond, and I understand you probably will. We do a financial audit to protect us and the members. A compliance audit would do the same doggone thing. I've heard comments that, how would they find this stuff? There are firms that specialize in doing these, just like a financial audit. How would they find where we have control issues? They dig into it. I firmly believe and strongly believe the community deserves to have this type of audit done and then have the findings of that governed or sent back to the committee. And I support those that agree with the fact that an NDA should not have to be put upon these people. Finally, the gentleman that came up and asked about the lots, and Scott said, or Greg, you said, or Scott said that you were going to act on them. Tell us what happened.
I said we discussed them. I didn't say we're going to.
Okay,
We
so
can't, Tom.
You can't. Okay.
We
I
will
apologize.
very soon, but we
I
can't.
apologize. Okay. I apologize.
We worked on our plan. We got a presentation from Sewer on the upcoming plan, and we were happy with it, and we'll be communicating that. But the one thing that we will not do is present something here to people so that the owners of lots would be taken advantage of because someone might try to sell them or try to buy a lot from them at below value. So we will go through the policy of notifying people for any of those that are on our plan when they get close enough in on the plan. And then when we get done with that, we'll address with people, ones that aren't on the plan, some options that they have for that.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Tom,
Good.
I want to answer one question because you asked about the sewer policy, and the statement was made that it was not in compliance with our CNRs. What the previous boards had done 20-plus years ago was implemented a policy that the board made the policy, so they created the policy that limited their direct control over certain sewer decisions. And so, you can look at it that way, that it was not a mirror image of the board making every decision on every sewer policy, but the board created that policy, and boards can do that. They can create a policy that limits their authority. But that was so the new policy pushed all direct decisions back to the board.
Okay. Thank you. I'll have to digest that, and that helps. It's just basically trying to understand again, what's the ramifications? And I don't understand that. Is it a legal ramification that we are at risk to be sued? Or what? And I appreciate your no. I'm trying to understand your perspective on that no, just like I'm trying to understand Mark's perspective on his yes, because if we have a legal issue on this and we're at risk, then I want Mark to, he's looking at the best interest of the community, not that you wouldn't be. And if we don't have one, then your issue makes sense in voting no. We come up with something different. And I don't understand where you're going on it. That makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? No.
My name is Ted Landers, 22 Amesbury Court. MK, typically when you have introduced a policy change, you have said how many people responded to that and generally what the consensus was of those comments. And that did not occur over the sewer policy. So can you tell us how many people responded to the sewer policy and overall what that thought process was from them?
I apologize, Ted, I don't have that information with me right now. I can post it as part of the
Just out of curiosity, was
response.
it 20 people? Was it 100 people? What? Just
It
roughly?
was, I don't want to give a number because I don't want to be held to a number that may not be correct.
But it was a lot.
I have this, define a lot.
Okay.
10,700 people.
But I will get those numbers out to people because I do have that information. I keep that information, and as you said, I report that when I do present a policy.
I think that, you know, following our guidelines, if we don't have the answer here, we'll bring it back.
Okay, that's
So
fine.
it's a fair question.
But I guess the reason I'm asking this is if there was a lot of responses back, then typically policy has been pushed back so that there's more discussion about them.
It depends on the comments in the questions.
Correct, I understand.
It's not
but-
a volume thing, it's the most important thing we look at when we get a comment is what's the nature of it and what effect it has on it, and is it something we need to revisit? The volume is kind of immaterial.
Well, it just goes to the fact that if you have, I'm just throwing a number out because I have no idea what they are. If 100 people responded and they're all negative, it means that the association, our club, has not done a good job of explaining why we need to make this change. And if that's the case, then rather than rushing through to approve it at the very first time that the policy comes up to the board, unlike the fence policy, which went back 5 times, I think, before it came to the board for final approval today, I just think that that just shows an arrogance by the board to push through something rather than to educate the members and get the buy-in that you needed. And I think it creates problems for you. The other thing was, which shouldn't go to my time, is I did ask on page 15 what that $187,000 expense was, and I didn't get an answer.
Oh, I'm sorry, I should have answered that. I think that's for the HVAC system.
It is,
Yeah.
yep.
So as part of the overall racket center expansion, we're building the new indoor pickleball, but also enhancing the existing tennis facilities with an HVAC system so it's more climate controlled.
Can we just add HVAC in parentheses or comma after it? I mean, it's a lot of money to not say what it's for.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. The last thing is, I have been a big champion of complaining about the private dining room at Druid being turned into an adult game room. So I want to know, has the board sat and discussed changing it back to a private dining room?
Well, first of all, the private dining room, as you call it, was not where the game room is. That was not where it was going to be. It was a room that had moving walls, and it was not going to be private because the walls did not go up to the ceiling. When you get a chance to see, you'll understand the ceiling is very high. There would be no way you could build a wall all the way up there. So the idea of private was never going to be there. Now, we heard, and I'll speak a little bit for the Druid Hills Steering Committee here, is we heard that requirement. It doesn't mean it has to be at Druid, okay? Not everything has to be in that building. And prior boards have looked at that and said, and rightfully so, we hear the requirement, now we have to get the strategy of how we're going to meet that requirement. It doesn't all have to be in Druid. So there was not going to be the private space that people thought because noise is going to travel over a wall that doesn't go to the ceiling.
Which is why having that space, which is dedicated currently for an adult game room, I don't think is the best use for it, particularly when our average age here is 74 years of age. I don't see people doing it.
Okay.
Secondly is, I looked today and there is not a single window in that portion. Part of our thing when we were building this was to take advantage of our beautiful views of the golf course. There are no views looking towards the 9th fairway out of that room. Are you aware, how many people on the board know there are no windows in that room? None of you.
Well, yes, I'm aware of it.
Okay.
And
yeah.
And the thing is that, Ted, is that we are planning for next month. We thought we were going to get it done this month, but it's not to the quality that we wanted. We're going to do a fly-through with a video that shows everyone what's in that space.
Shouldn't we be having windows that look out under the ninth fairway? I mean, that's a beautiful view from that vantage point.
Well, the answer is yeah, if you want to pay for them now, you can. But the design has been done, it's been completed. We actually did the video around there, so you saw that there was not going to be any windows there if you attended that meeting. And to go back and redo that at this point is not going to be a cheap thing.
There are, the veranda wraps around
Yeah.
that side of the building.
That does
and
on
it-
the side, but
and
this-
it has roll-down protective from wind and elements, has roll-down screens. And there's heat as well as fans. So it is a multi-seasonal, multi-purpose outdoor space. That's what it was designed for. Now, I wasn't here for the design approvals and all that y'all went through, but I can say with the adult game room, you don't want light coming in and on those screens and on those units.
So what exactly are the games that are going to be in the adult game room?
We'll get into all that next month. I promise you that we will make those statements. We'll let you know what's going to be in it.
Okay.
But to have that conversation now, I think is a little premature without having the right tools to be able to show you what it's going to look like. Okay?
Thank you very much. And just the last thing, I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding in the way information came out about this. Today you mentioned, which came out in the letter, that there was an overall 11% reduction in the prices for our restaurant. But BJL did it a 20% increase, and then we had a 20% discount by using our membership card. So if we get an 11% discount reduction, we still have a 9% increase.
You got a...
No, you've got the preferred dining program that's 10 and 20% discount, and then May 1st, the whole menu will be overhauled. That's.
It's a preferred dining program. If you want to continue, the prices are priced based on our wholesale cost. Wholesale cost drives pricing relative to what your cost of sales are. Those are formulas that are standard for all restaurant operations. So we are simply, as a recognition of our members that support the food and beverage operation, there was a fundamental issue or problem with the Bobby Jones Links model was done and created when Wyndham existed.
Right.
So that members, they rose their prices because they said, my understanding from speaking with them when I got here, was the prices at Fairfield Glade were so under market that they could not achieve their goals that were being specified in the contract and their performance agreement. So they had to raise prices, but they were going to recognize members as opposed to those from the general public, because you do operate as a resort and you are open to the public. So they had a special member pricing. But as we go, there's no Wyndham now. We
I
have to be
understand.
self-sustaining, as we've been talking about with as we go forward. And, I've said before, if this club made a decision to use Wyndham dollars to offset the cost of what it is to live here and to operate, those could have been put in a reserve fund if in another business model, but that's neither here nor there. That's the way this place has operated for decades. But to me, you can't, to come in, for a person under the Bobby Jones Links model, harkens the door once a year and gets a 20% discount. That is not a sustainable operation for us anymore. We cannot function like. So I wanted to somehow instill and recognize those members who support the food and beverage operation here. If that's an encouragement, if that's a way to draw people in, but we need your support to succeed.
And that's a one-time lifetime, $100, not $100 per year.
And it's basically done because we're allowing you to charge. And we felt that we are not wanting, that is a perk, that is a member perk to be able to charge. That's standard at most private clubs. We are structured different here. The concern was if you didn't have some type of contribution up front, you could have folks that live here or that may have ill intentions and come in and charge up a $300 charge with no plan on ever paying that. And so that's why we didn't want to have to get into a collection business. So we wanted to create those that put up $100 are saying, yes, I want to support, I want to be a part of this program. If you don't like it and you don't want to participate, that's why it's structured the way it is. You don't have to. But those who do will be given recognition by the club as a thank you and an appreciation for your support.
The only thing I would add to Bill's, and I'll correct him on one thing, the board wanted him to develop something. It wasn't just him. I mean, we knew that when we took the 20% away, we wanted to see what else we could do. The first thing we could do is reduce the prices on the menu. That was done. Then we're looking at other programs that we could look at that would encourage two things. Certainly participation. That's the key thing. If you're going to run a food and beverage operation, you want to get people in there, especially since we are, all of us sitting in this room, if you're a property owner, are owners of that. So we wanted to do that. And then number two, we wanted to try to get back to where that if by the participation in that program, it would look even better than the 20% that we were getting. And it is. Do the math. 10% on top of 11%, that's 21%. 20% on top of 11% is 31%. And the math tells you that that's what it's all about. We're trying to get more people to participate. And this is going to be a big issue. If we don't get the participation of people here in this room, you heard that last summer when we presented the business case about this is what it's going to cost. You need to be a part of the solution. And if we don't attend and work with the Druid Hills food and beverage piece, we will have subsidies. That's a given. So it's either we're going to participate in programs or we're going to subsidize them.
30% between member discounts, employee discounts, all the discounts that were 30% of our total revenue last year was gone, written off to discounts. And we can keep those programs in place, but that's not free money.
Right.
That's someone's paying for that, and that's you. So the decisions were made when Wyndham's gone, we have to make adjustments. And I appreciate Greg's support, and it's clear on a larger matter because there's a governance model. The board handles policy. I'm the operating officer, and our team and our administration, our staff, implements those policies and makes sure that they're followed. But we take direction and initiatives from the board, and it's not my role or staff's role to create your rules and your policies. So I just think from a governance standpoint, and we have a governance matrix. It was created last year. It's standard throughout the industry, and it's on the website, and it clearly delineates the role and responsibilities of the board when it comes to governance and the roles and responsibilities of myself and our team in
operations.
And the roles and responsibilities of members.
In operations. Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ted.
Steve?
Steve Ballou, St. George Speedway. Just got a statement. After 4 years ago, we started the Druid Hills Food and Beverage Committee, which was formed to get the input from the community for the new restaurant. The committee came up with a plan, which was presented to the community in several town halls. When we got up here and showed you the PowerPoints, what it was going to look like. Over the past few months, it's come to my attention changes have been made as presented. As the committee chairman and a member of the steering committee, who never missed a meeting in 4 years, I don't know who is making the changes or why. I understand over the past 4 years, we've had multiple changes in management in all levels of leadership, and the continuity has been lost. I ask that the board to either by next month's meeting, which I think you've already addressed, we're going to do a fly-through, or another town hall to present what has changed, why, and by who.
I think, Steve, I thought you were on the distribution of the email I sent the other day, yesterday, where I said I would have a meeting with the food and beverage group, and we'd go through all the changes and why they were made. Now, in the presentation that we'll get, we'll go through that again. You'll see the changes. But I set up a special meeting that we're going to have, assuming that all these other things get done, for April. And I have every intention to have that meeting. So I thought you were on that distribution.
The issue is we've been pushing it back and pushing it back.
Well,
this has
we
already
don't
happened.
have the things that we thought we would have at this time.
Exactly.
Now, it doesn't do us any good to have the meeting if we don't have all the information there.
But the changes have been made. Everybody in the community needs to know about them.
Yeah.
And because I got up here and said, this is what it's going to be, and now it's not.
Well, the changes are just a few, and we will go through the reasons why and why they were made and that type of thing. And there are good reasons for each one of them.
And I look forward to them. I think everybody needs to be aware. I got up here and said this, and now it's not what I said. I don't want me to be accused or my committee, because this is not what we presented.
I'm very sensitive to that, and that's why we're going to have the meeting with you guys first.
Right.
Okay? Thank you. Oh.
Bill, members of the board.
Up, and then now it's who you are.
I'm going to.
Okay.
I'm Catherine Henderson. I live in Druid Hills. I have a little spiel here, but I think that there's a common denominator in today's meeting, and that's lack of communication. And that kind of brings me to what I'm going to talk about. Specifically, the money that you approved, $4.515 million capital expenditures for the Racket Committee, Expansion Committee. I don't even know where to start. You named it the Racket Center Expansion Committee, but there's nothing for tennis in that. You could have included the spending. Bill, you remember that Diane Johnston and I met with you in December of 2024, and we got numbers from William about converting the pickleball courts outside into tennis courts. The estimate was around $25,000 for $4.5 million. I think you could have included the conversion of some of those courts outside for tennis to play outside year-round.
Those are not my decisions
I
tonight.
understand that, but you...
That's what your steering committee that was representative.
Well, the steering
made their
committee wasn't, the
recommendation.
steering committee was not representative of the Racket Center, first of all. But there was a survey, I use that term loosely, that was done of needs and wants. 139 people filled it out. No one from the tennis community, unless they were a pickleball player, got to fill it out. Last week's Glade Sun published a press release from the community club saying, quote, "The decision for the expenditures for the center was guided by member input and usage data." But you didn't mention that the average usage data last year for the outside pickleball courts was 26%, and the year before that it was 30%. When I was on the Racket Sports Committee in 2024, we were looking at a product that would have allowed us to fall under the $2 million budget. It could have been done in 2 months that would have covered the existing courts. And our concept was that you do that, and if you need additional courts, you use the space that was previously cleared where you're going to put the new facility and build additional outdoor courts. It would have cost a lot less to do that. The product that we looked at is actually recommended by the USA Pickleball, which is the association that governs pickleball in the United States. I just find it interesting that the committee's been meeting for over a year. There have been no meeting announcements, no agendas put forth, no minutes published, and no discussion whatsoever. And you guys got caught when they cleared the lot. Oops, uh-oh, was the headline in the paper.
One more minute.
Well, you haven't cut anybody else off. And it was pretty clear that the plans were in place, because you don't clear a lot for a parking lot unless you know what your site is going to look like. I'm glad we're doing something for pickleball. I think $4.5 million is excessive when it doesn't include anything for tennis. So 2 questions to you. Will you find the money in your budget to convert the outdoor pickleball courts to tennis? And secondly, where do we stand on the sound study that you said you would look into in January? Thank you.
Your first question is not for me to answer. And the sound study at this point is because the project was approved and will be completed in January, it's a moot issue at this point.
It's a moot issue to you, but not to the people inside.
I'm sorry, Catherine, you got to say that up here so people can hear you, okay?
The sound study may be a moot issue to you, but it's not to those of us that play inside. Scott actually referenced the closing of pickleball courts in some locations, and it has been done. Most of those are for outside facilities where they're close to residences. The standard now that's being put forth for communities in their planning process is not to build a pickleball facility within 1,000 feet of a residence. How close are we inside the facility? Much, much less than that. It's another year. We hope that the timeline works, but there could be weather delays, there could be other delays, we don't know that. And I'm asking that you still consider doing that, because there are other options. I mean, I came here today at 60 degrees outside, there was 1 court outside being used. I'm just saying, there's other options right now. This is the outdoor pickleball season, and they could be playing outside. Thank you.
Okay. In terms of your other question about the outdoor courts, that's something that should be referred back down to the Racket Center Committee or Racket Sports Committee, and they'll need to look at that. At this point, there's never been a recommendation or a discussion at the board level for that.
And again, that's because you didn't put anybody from the Racket Center on the tennis side on that committee. That absolutely should have been discussed. Otherwise, you should have just named the committee the Pickleball Expansion Committee. It was called the Racket Center Committee. You had 1 part-time tennis player on it. That's it. Nobody else representing the tennis community.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Come on.
Steve Locker, 150 Delbridge Lane. Before I begin my questions, I want to emphasize, Greg, that the questions, the 6 I'm going to ask, are not rhetorical. This community deserves and expects and should receive, if not answers today, written answers in the next week or so. And I'm sorry that Mr. Chadwell is not here. I'd like to address the conduct and role of the board's legal counsel at the last meeting. During that meeting, the way counsel spoke to members was, in my opinion, dismissive and not reflective of the level of professionalism that this community and its members deserve and expect. Questions. What standards of conduct and communication does the board expect from its legal counsel when that counsel interacts with members? Number 2, does the board believe that those standards were met at the last meeting? Additionally, I would like clarification on the role of legal counsel in these meetings. Number 3, maybe 4, is counsel present to advise the board on compliance and governance, or to directly engage with and respond to members? What safeguards are in place to ensure that member concerns are addressed respectfully and without intimidation? Finally, I would ask this. Is the board willing to review the conduct of counsel and ensure that future interactions with members reflect the professionalism and respect that this community deserves? Lastly, I think it's fair to say that when legal counsel is this central in member interactions, it leaves many of us questioning whether the board is fully confident in the legal standing of these decisions. Now, I don't know how many, if any, of these questions require any research. So would love to hear answers here today before we leave. If that's not possible, I think the members of this community deserve, expect, and should receive answers in writing.
Okay. What I can tell you is I did have a conversation, fairly lengthy one, with Kenneth about the behavior. And I did tell him that was unacceptable. And we went through that, and I think he understands. Now, your other questions here, that gets into a lot more specifics. Well, I'd have to think through, and I think we would have to think through the responses to all of that. And we'd have to have some conversation with Kenneth on some of those, okay?
Will you commit to doing that?
Yeah.
I've
Absolutely.
got questions written here.
Oh, good, that even makes it better.
That way,
Because
there's...
I was trying to get them down, Steve.
It's got some notes, so
Okay, if you
ignore
can
those.
give those to me and make sure I have them, I'd appreciate it.
But that eliminates any confusion about what
Yeah.
we're asking.
But it's something that I want to make sure that you don't get an expectation it's going to be done in a day or two, because it's going to take, I think, some conversation and some dialogue to get through all the things you asked. Okay?
Understand?
All right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You'll go next, I promise.
I heard that from back there. Anyway, Ron Miller, Cromwell Lane. I have a question for Mr. Ward to start with. We pay for that sign on Interstate 40 by Crab Orchard, is that correct?
Yes, that sign was destroyed in December, late December, right around the first of the year, when we had a bad storm with high winds. It is we contracted through Flynn, and we brought it to their and then they have contracted or worked through a firm called Out Front is the name. We brought this to their immediate attention. We were told that it would take some time to get that restructured and redone. We were patient. I will credit Mary Jo has been on them, and then I joined in the conversation yesterday in a very firm way as well, because it has been quite one delay after another as to why that is not getting rebuilt, and I have demanded that the vinyl just be removed. But we have a contractual relationship there for that sign, and I don't know, I can speculate if there's other elements within those companies is what they're doing or not doing, but it is not, we want our name removed from that sign because of its state of disrepair that has existed for far too long. And we will remain steadfast in our rights to that sign under our contract.
Okay, so we do have a plan in motion
Yes.
to be able to correct that, because it is an eyesore, and it doesn't.
It is, and it doesn't reflect, particularly given
Correct.
the situation with Wyndham and the like, it is, not what we want
We
anyway.
appreciate you being the eyes and ears anytime you see
Yeah, it
something
doesn't,
like
doesn't
that.
represent our, our values of the proposition that we hold here. This is where the fun begins, and it doesn't do that with that sign standing in the ground the way it is. Pivoting over to the problem that we're going to have in a foreseeable future of drawing people in, that sign is probably not in the best place to start with, even though it's in a nice flat area coming through that area in there. It just seems that a lot of the I-40 traffic likes to speed up around that area to get around before they get to the 3 lanes, and you seem to get blocked out by a lot of trucking and everything else. So, but anyway, That's just on that point. I have a question, though, that I really do wish that our attorney was here so that he might be able to answer on what would happen when Wyndham finally does decide to go and publish that they are going into bankruptcy, what type of liabilities that they would have that we have actually an interest in, and where we would stand in recouping any dollars that we might.
Well, let me tell you about that, okay? Because Kenneth is somewhat removed from that. We have retained a bankruptcy attorney group out of Nashville.
Okay.
And they have told us, until they see the filings,
Yeah, you can't
there's not
file
much
what
you can
can't
do. And we
Everybody
haven't
knows
seen
you
the
have to be
filings.
first in line to be able to be paid.
Yeah.
So,
But they are doing what they can to find out what they can, and as soon as we know what the filings are and they've had a chance to look at all that, then there'll be a plan being developed on how we're going to approach it.
okay.
But we hired specialized attorneys for that reason, because that's nothing that Kenneth deals with on a daily basis.
Okay.
Okay?
That takes care of that on there. The next one is for, I don't know who
Yeah.
takes care of this.
Yeah, one more minute for questions.
I don't know who takes care of this, but there's, seems to be an outcropping of residential, commercial signs showing up where there's no homes for sale in typical Eagle Court has a sign from the Knoxville area saying, hey, buy this home. There's no home there. There's nothing within 100 yards of it. So I know that they've been putting them up on stop signs, and I don't know who's removing them. I don't know if it's Katie Self's guys or what, but, and speaking of Katie Self, thank you very much for the speed enforcement on Peavine. You've slowed it down from 45 down to close to 30. That's much appreciated, especially for us walkers where we try to cross on the areas that are going to be designated through the state as pedestrian crosswalks. I've been in contact with Mayor Foster, and he has assured us that they are looking at it through committee, through TDOT for the state to be putting in those crosswalks in strategic places. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon yet? Hello. Dan Guy, Doyle Court. Probably 6 months or so ago, the board was trying to come up with ideas how to raise revenue for the club. I had a suggestion on a fee for roads. Greg has touched on it here and there. As far as a fee being charged to new home builds, and that would go directly to our asphalt paving in Fairfield or repair of roads. That would boost up what we have in the budgets now. And at the time we were talking amenities, it's not an amenity, but it's, everybody uses them. And builders, they come in, I would have had to pay it, I built a home here. And I would have been fine with that and I would have understood it. But they come in, they have heavier equipment than ever before, coming up and down our roads. It's hard on our roads, okay? So they come in, they build their homes, they make their money, then they move on. And I get that, it's a good business. I used to build homes myself. But I would like to know where we are with that. You said there was a lot of conversations with the county, but now this is asphalt, which is the community club's purview, is that not right?
Not necessarily. I mean, we pay for that with what we put in the budget every year. This year,
Correct.
$650,000.
Correct.
But if you take a look at the rules and regulations, that doesn't relieve the county of the responsibility of maintaining accepted roads. So, and here's where we are with it, and it's all wrapped up in this conversation with the county. There's things at the county level, there's things at the state level, and there's some things we at our level can do. Now, we have to be a little careful because we're not a governing body. So we can't tax or we can't do some things like that. We can't put like in a wheel tax or something
Okay.
like that. But those conversations are happening at the state level, the county level, and eventually at our level, but we need to get ourselves straight with where we are with the county before we start taking a bunch of
With
actions.
all due respect, it's not a tax, it's a fee, like we have availability fees, we have other fees, okay? So let's be clear on that. I never said it was a tax.
I understand that, Dan, but my point is that that's a legal question,
Okay.
okay?
And as a
What we may
community
think as a
club,
fee, it may be looked at as a tax. We gotta find that out.
okay. All right, well, I would appreciate more, because in fact, I found a letter I wrote to the Director of Community Maintenance in 2016 on the same subject.
Okay?
And at that time, I had specified, for sake of argument, a $2,000 fee to each home. I said, I said $2,500, but that goes back to 2016. So it's been just kind of sticking in my craw for a while. And especially when the community club and the board here looks for a way of making revenue for the community club, so that our dues stay in check as best we can. Secondly, I don't know if...
Dan, you got one more minute.
Okay, thank you. If y'all, I invite any one of you to take a ride down Trentwood Drive, okay? Last year, that was paved. Y'all probably got some memos. Someone in my neighborhood passed along my comments. And they were just this burst of conversations, what it was. But it's terrible. It's awful job, okay? The worst one I've seen since, before that was Manchester. And that was the last time the community club, Roads and Bridges, did the roads. Turned over to the county. Now we get this product. If you go down at night, you'll see a washboard on a new road. I mean, repaved, resurfaced road. It's ridiculous. It's awful. I have had a lot of conversations with a lot of my neighbors thinking the same thing. Then the dust is still there, what, 6 months later, 5 months later? And the community club came and patched some of the holes. Not a good look, but I invite every one of you, take a ride down Trentwood Drive. If this was your road, accessing your home, what would you think about it? Okay. And I just want to say one other thing. It's sad to see all those community members resign from their posts. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jessica Speaker, 12 Forest Hill Terrace. I have some questions. I have 6. Do you just want me to read them all out now? Or you want to answer them individually? And then, how do you want to do that?
If you got questions, ask them. I have no idea what the volume was, Jessica, so.
6. It's
Oh,
6.
well, let's go.
Okay. So the first one is, under the new sewer policy, some of the A and B lots are no longer guaranteed sewer access because of the change of the 300-foot rule. Can you explain why you have not reclassified those lots?
Okay, well, let's hear all of them, and we'll try to get through them so that
Okay.
we don't.
How does the board justify continuing to charge A and B lot dues when the guaranteed sewer access associated with those lots no longer exist?
Okay.
And do you think that maintaining the previous lot classification standards could expose the club to litigation again? At the March 17th ACC meeting, the gentleman came up earlier and he spoke of his 3 properties that were placed in contingency. Can you clarify whether these lots were sold as A lots from the club?
I'm sorry, repeat that question?
The gentleman that came up earlier?
The builder's 3 lots.
Oh, the builders.
The builder's 3 lots. They're all A lots, and they were, to my understanding, sold from the club. So the club sold those lots?
Okay. Go on.
I'm asking if they did, so, okay. And how will the board be applying the new sewer policy consistently across similar properties with the new sewer policy? And then, did the club update those A and B lot owners that are no longer guaranteed sewer access formally, written letter, email, anything? Or are they just gonna find out when they pay for their house to be built?
Okay,
That's the last question, if you wanna go back to
all
the.
right. I'll go through some of these. We did get a legal opinion on the reclassification, and we do not have to reclassify. Okay? So we're not in the business of doing that. The second one, guaranteed access. As you rightfully know, that guarantee is no longer guaranteed. But it's not an automatic that it won't happen. There's a process that's put in place that you can come to the board with your request, and it'll be looked at. Matter of fact, we've done some of those already, and the board will look at that and get a yes or a no. It's not an automatic that you don't get it. It's not an automatic that you do get it anymore.
So you're
It means
paying
that
for
it
a
has to-
chance.
Pardon me?
You're paying higher dues with a chance that you could have the sewer.
For the
Maybe.
proximity to it.
Yeah, proximity to it. That's the key. Okay? Your third one,
But we do want to build, Jess. We
Yeah.
do. And so, but we don't want to do 300 feet here and then 300 feet there. We want to say, okay, let's go. We're going to go. Let's put our plan together at the beginning of the year, which there already was one. And then let's look at things that we hear from builders, residents, things like that. See where we can adjust without stopping and starting.
Well, by the time you get to the point to come to the board, a lot of homes, I've already spoke with the architect about putting my home on my lot, and I paid thousands of dollars to have the architect draw up my floor plan. And now I come to the board and you can deny me sewer on my lot that I've been paying dues on for years. And I've been paying A lot dues or B lot dues. And so you're costing residents money along with builders money. So I just want to know, have we reached out to these people? Do they know? I mean, isn't that the process with Fairfield Homes? Because when I was looking at buying a Fairfield home, I was told I had to pay $2,000 for an architect to come up with the plan first, before they would even go into pricing with me. To develop. Yeah.
Ellen, speak in there.
Yeah, that's the process that they do to make sure that they can build the house on the lot. So that includes like engineering fees, any study that they're doing to make sure that
But then
they
it
can
would
build
come to the
house.
board to be approved for sewer after I've already paid the $2,000.
We had a long discussion about this yesterday because we had the first couple lots come in. So I don't know what the board is going to decide to do, but maybe the sale would be pending on if they want the sewer, they could come first before purchasing the lot, so they would know.
But if I'm a private owner and I've hired an architect myself, then that's where we're going to come into a big problem. This is further than just builders.
This is why we want to be able to go out to the community and tell them what the next areas are that are being
I
developed
really
for
feel like
sewer.
this should have been planned out before that policy got pushed through. So shame on y'all.
Do you want to hear the rest? I'm sorry, what?
We're good.
Okay, all right,
Have the day you deserve.
all right.
Jeannie Guy, 2 quickies. When the board discussed releasing comments only, no names on policies, did any of you respond yes?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
When the board discussed releasing comments only, not names, regarding policies, did any of you vote yes, that comments should be released to us? Did any of you?
No, because we would need them to certify their comments can be circulated after that.
You would have to certify that?
Jeannie, I don't, maybe.
Anyway, did any of you think community members should know the comments that are being made on the policies that are out for review? Any of you?
Yes,
No.
and we heard.
Comments, not the actual.
Yeah, there's a difference here between the summary and the actual. The summary of what the comments are, I think, is absolutely important for people to know, okay? But each individual comment by each individual member, no.
Where is the summary?
We typically will give them, you know, as we get ready to vote on a policy. So.
Well, I
And
don't
they
u-
got to hear them last meeting, all of them, or a lot of them. Weren't there several hours of comments?
We heard nothing about any email.
Jessica, you gotta come up here because people can't hear.
Jessica said that we didn't hear anything about any emails that were received as far as comments on the policy.
That's true. I was saying the comments that you heard last week. You heard,
Well, we heard the ones that were in person, yes, but not the ones that came in.
They were mostly following that same that same verbiage, if you will. Now, what we try to do, and particularly when it's a big issue like the sewer was, that's why we had a presentation, because that presentation addressed a lot of the questions, okay? And that's what we're trying to do with large things that have a whole bunch of comments to them, so that we can get answers to questions without going through each individual one, but we get to the gist of what the most of them are. And I would say from the presentation that MK did, that addressed most of the substantial comments.
I would agree, it did address a lot of comments.
But a lot of comments are, Jeannie, and you know, you can pick your policy, is I don't like the policy. Well, I don't know how to address that.
Right, but here's my point of view. The policy is commented on by a lot of people. Now, you either decide you're going to move forward, or you decide the policy needs more work. As a member, if you come along and say, we're going to move it forward, how do I know that 100 people didn't agree with the comments that wanted it to hold up a bit?
But the volume of people that say, yes, do it, or no, don't do it, is not really, I think, the base
No,
criteria.
I'm not talking about volume, I mean the comments.
But it is, because like someone else pointed out, well, if you had 100 people that said, I don't want that policy, we ought to think about it. Now, we can get into communication, and that's a fair conversation to have.
Okay.
But 100 people saying, I just don't like the policy, is not very helpful in terms of saying,
No.
well, what don't you like?
I agree.
And
I agree.
what we try to do is take the substantial ones that said, I don't like this about the policy, or I don't understand this part of it, and that's what we try to get into the presentations so people see that.
Okay.
So that's really the intent of what we're trying to do.
It really boils down to trust. I have to trust that you're listening to the comments, that you're giving credence to them. So that's what it is.
Jeannie,
Okay.
I think in some of the past policy presentations, I've talked about the comments that we've received. And in some circumstances, because we got good, substantive, constructive comments, we pulled policies back
Yeah.
to revise
Good
because
to hear.
the language wasn't clear. And I mean, that has been a practice that I've done with the policies. Now, as far as the sewer policy, I know I had the statistics. It may have been overcome by events that day that they were not announced, but I will get that information out to the community.
Okay. The last thing I have, in my opinion, having listened to everything presented at this meeting, I would ask you to go home and watch the recording of this meeting, along with watching the one from the last meeting. I would ask you to go home and do that. And I think it should open your eyes to the community's attitude. This isn't good, okay? Especially these people that resigned from the policy committee. My heart goes out to them. Those people really wanted to help. And they were given the old bait and switch. And that's really sad.
Any other comments?
John Wedgeworth, 16 West Ridge Terrace. Mayor Kay, I've got a question for you, please, on the ballot sheet. May I ask that, please? The specific question is regarding the debt service reserve.
Yep.
How is that being spent, and are we still funding that?
I'm going to let Jason answer.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, I didn't know who to ask, so thanks.
So we utilize this fund to service the debt for Druid, soon to be for the Racket Center, and it's still funded monthly, consistent with prior years past.
Okay, and roughly what is that dollar amount monthly?
I think I want to say 32,000 a month.
Okay. One other question to change the subject here. As most of you know, I'm president of Fairfield Glade Resident Services, and it's an honor to lead that organization and what they do for Fairfield Glade residents. And I want to thank Bill and Greg for supporting us. I ask for some things sometimes. You can't give it to me, I understand. But most of the time, you're very gracious to support our organization. We have 160 volunteers now, and who are out doing something in our community now while we're here. They're out helping Fairfield Glade residents. Our sole mission, when it was founded in 2008, was to help Fairfield Glade residents. And we do that on a daily basis. I had a great example here today of Ted. Is he still here? Yeah. Ted Landers. Last year, he was our #1 driver for volunteer hours for our Way to Go program. That's our largest program that we offer. So far in January and February, he's the #1 and 2 driver for those months. So we have a great base of volunteers, 150 as I mentioned. We've just added Neighborhood Watch to our program now. They came back to us, they left and they came back, so we welcome them back with open arms. And also we glad to mention the ambassadors who did not have a home for 5-6 years while they were here in the community, and now they're part of our organization at Fairfield Glade Resident Services. So we're excited about that. Things are going well at FGRS. We're always looking for volunteers. Again, thank you for your support and what you do for our organization. Thank you.
Well, and thank you, John, for the support that Fairfield Glade Resident Services gives to our community. You've tried several times.
Wayne Hilt, I live on Cromwell Lane. I had a question about safety and security versus the Dark Skies Initiative. I think that we're in conflict. We've got a lot of older people in a community, and when it's very dark, it's very difficult for a lot of the older people. Fortunately, it's not a problem I've had yet, but I do see many people in the community that are having great difficulty. What really brought this to my attention was that just recently an individual on our street was told that they had to remove a light that they had. I think that hit two things. One, safety and security, and just the fact that Skies initiative that I've heard about, unless your lot is a whole lot different than mine, there are so many trees, the only thing I can see of the sky is what's directly above me. If people really want to go and take telescopes and look at the stars and so forth, I think there are locations here in the Glade that do lend themselves to much better opportunity than every street and every lot in the entire Glade. I think that this is something that should be looked at, and perhaps the police department could also interject in this, that we really have I believe, a safety and security and a member problem with more older people in our community and not being able to see as well. I think we need more light, not less light.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Tom Ratcliffe, I'm just going to follow up on that. Would you clarify as a board, please, what the streetlight policy is? Previous board, and Greg, you were on it, said existing streetlights, once they went out, would not be replaced. Okay? Is that still the policy? And
Yes,
is
that's still the policy.
And that's the way
We are not a policy, we don't have the dark sky policy. We try to adhere to a lot of their basic stuff. This is a topic, quite honestly, comes up almost every year, if not every year, maybe every 6 months. And we've looked at this every way, which way you possibly can. Our community is split, almost 50-50 on whether or not to be dark sky compliant or not. And right now, the policies would say that we are trying to follow the basic principles of it, but we're, you know, we can look at those things, but we do it on a pretty regular basis. And we get comments quite often about the dark sky policy.
Yeah, and I will add that the lighting policy is being reviewed right now by the Architectural Control Committee,
good.
so they'll be putting that forward once they have a new draft of it for comment.
Is it presently, though, with that policy, streetlights go out, they're not replaced.
Right.
Is that actually being enforced in the building department? Or are they, depending on residents and their calls and so forth, replacing them? Because again, it's supposed to be.
Well, there are some streetlights that are in the policy that will stay on, and they're mainly around Peavine and some of the other areas like that. But the ones that are not, and that there's a list of them. I don't remember the whole list right now. We can get you that information, but there is a list of those. Other lights that go out are not to be replaced.
And in my last comment, I made it before. You all drive by the Racket Center, look at it, and compare it to the rest of the community in terms of how it's lit up like a Christmas tree at night, empty parking lot.
Yep. Any other comments? Dan?
Dan Guy, Doyle Court. I forgot to ask about the roads issue. Is there any oversight from Fairfield staff when the county chip and seals?
No.
So we just washed our hands of it when we made that?
The county owns their roads, and the maintenance.
I understand. But we don't have any oversight, hey, you're getting this wrong, or is that
No.
maybe what happened at Trentwood? I don't know. But anyhow, thanks for answering that.
You may not like the answer, but the truth is,
That's fine.
the county has a standard.
Sure.
And as long as it meets that standard, it says, we're done.
Correct. Okay.
We do
Well,
pro-
we used to
and we do
oversee it.
provide feedback
I mean, I
regularly.
can share with you what I shared before in meeting with Stanley and some of the things that the county has encountered recently. The rock from the quarries that is used for chip and seal in Cumberland County used to be washed twice
Correct.
before it was sent out for distribution. The state removed that requirement, and so they simply can't afford to do it on the county's nickel. So the rock that is used in chip and seal roads is covered with sediment, which causes a lot of the dust, and it takes more time for it to adhere to the actual tar, is my understanding.
Okay.
And I do know that he went out and met with those residents, and I believe Colleen Mall met with them as well, and explained the situation to those folks. But the county is responsible and manages and is in charge. We do not dictate to the county how they do their roads and stand over their shoulder while they're doing them.
So if someone needs to complain about or have a concern about a road, go to him?
The county, correct.
Okay. Excuse me.
And the commissioners have said in a couple of our meetings as we're putting this roads process together that they welcome people coming to the meetings and talking about roads
Sure.
and incremental
Okay.
funding needed. And
All right, thank you. I got one other thing I'd like to raise a point. Years ago, for many years actually, there was a property standards committee, okay? That committee met like the ACC committee and then was absorbed into the ACC, okay? We hear no reporting. We don't know if they're doing good. You look around, there's a lot of, somebody mentioned signs earlier around, property standards takes care of that. But we don't, as members, know, has there been 500 lighting issues last year or this month? Or, you know, we just get reports that we could gauge how our money that we pay to the people, the staff, their performance, how they're doing, okay? When you go around and you see a lot of violations, and you got to wonder, you know, how much effort is getting put towards that. You hate to see, years ago, 10, 12 years ago, there wasn't much enforcement prior to that, okay? About 40 years of Fairfield's existence, there was nothing being done as far as property standards. You hate to see it go backwards, okay? So is there something that could be reported at the ACC meeting, or can this board present something? We used to hear how many homes were built and all this stuff. You can see it on agendas and minutes for the ACC meeting, but property standards, there's nothing. No, I've been going to the ACC meetings for many meetings. Never a word about property standards.
Let's see what we can do about that.
Okay.
We'll look into it.
Okay, appreciate it.
Thank you. Anything else?
I just had Catherine Henderson, Druid Circle. I just had one more question. You directed me back to the Racket Sports Committee about the possibility of converting the outdoor courts and making that $25,000 part of this plan. The Racket Sports Committee doesn't report to the board anymore. So is that still the process?
That's something I'm unaware of as a board member that doesn't report to the board.
That happened in that happened in 2024.
We changed that back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So-
true.
As a board liaison on
Yeah.
Racket Sports. And I interact with Brian on occasionally.
Yeah, there's still advisory to the board, and yeah, the liaison has taken on a little bit more of a role. But yeah, I mean, it would not be part of the scope of the work being done right now for the racquetball or the pickleball expansion. Because that project's already defined, the scope is set, the bids have been out, we've gotten the bids back.
Okay, and because we didn't get an opportunity to communicate or think or hear of anything along the last 12, 13 months, then we're just basically out of luck until you can come up with some more money. Is that what you're saying?
We would have to understand what the need is, what it is that you want to do over there. We're not going to make those judgments here today because
I understand that.
we don't
I understand
understand
that.
what you're asking for, really.
Well, I think you do know what I'm asking for, but I also wanted to just say that I know Tom mentioned last month when I was watching the meeting that there was no ROI on this project. And I hope that pickleball can bring in $350,000 a year or more with events and member payment and stuff like that. But right now, that $4.5 million, if you put all of that money to $350,000 a year, it would take almost 13 years to pay that back with no interest, no staffing costs, no utility costs, no maintenance, and no unresolved issues that might come up.
Well, let's take that on just a little bit, okay?
Yeah.
Every amenity that we have here at Fairfield Glade is not an amenity that creates a profit.
I understand that.
We are a not-for-profit organization.
Right.
What we ask our amenities and to do is to cover operating costs.
But you're asking the
We see-
membership to
hold on.
finance something that
I was going to get to that.
is a lot more than it really needed to be.
That's right, because buildings like racquetball expansion or putting new traps in or taking the sand out and putting new sand in the golf courses, or Druid Hills Clubhouse. Those are investments. The community club makes those investments. They're not supposed to necessarily generate a profit.
But you use those numbers, Greg, to justify the spending that you're doing. I'm not opposed to the pickleball facility. I totally get
No, I
that
didn't
we
get
need
that.
it.
I didn't
But
get
what I'm
that.
saying is there were so many other options available that it didn't have to be $4.5 million that now has to be financed and paid for on top of Druid, EMS, and all the other things that we do. That's my point.
Well,
and it was a very narrow scope, and nobody from the community outside of that small community of pickleball players had the opportunity to talk about it. Because $25,000 out of $4.5 million is a drop in the bucket. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Any other comments?
Debbie Sims, 129 Layden Drive. The comments that have happened because of the behavior of the attorney from last month are just deplorable. My question is, you know, we're growing as a community. I feel that the residents need an attorney that represents this community and is well-versed in POA and HOA law. This board has taken it upon themselves to hire an attorney because of the Wyndham problem, who specializes in bankruptcy. I don't believe this law firm specializes in HOA and POA laws and rules. And I think it would be most advantageous to entertain attorneys that are well-versed in this for this community, because it seems like there are way too many problems here that a general attorney is trying to adjust or to answer to that he's not very well-versed on. And I think that would be an extremely important thing for this community and its growth.
Okay. I will tell you that the attorney that is representing us, they have been involved with Fairfield Glade ever since the very beginning.
I understand that, but being involved here is not being everything in business is becoming very specialized. And there are attorney firms out there that specialize in HOA and POA law. And they could also help us with redoing the policies and the CC&Rs and all of that stuff, because there are a lot of legal issues there. And also, the NDA is not necessary for a board member or a committee member. And for board members, there are insurance policies that you can get for errors and omissions that would cover the board. So, you know, and I can tell you, I've been approached many times to be on a committee. I won't sign an NDA. That's absolutely absurd for committee members to have to do that. We're all adults. We don't go around screaming about important things. When you have an executive meeting, you don't need an NDA because you know it's executive meeting and what happens in that room stays in that room. And you're getting a lot of people who've been involved with large corporations. They know how to behave.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Just when we thought we were done.
Dick Osman, Chestnut Ridge Lane. Isaac, you just brought up that they're going to look at the lighting policy, the ACC. are those open to the memberships to listen to at the ACC?
I think typically the debate on the policies, they're doing those in executive sessions, but the policy will be put out to the public for review, just like the fence policy and any other policies for comment.
But a lot of these policies really affect the members at the ACC reviews. That open debate should be allowed by the members to look at, to see which ways things are heading, and which way everybody's leaning towards, and trying to understand why they're making these changes to it. Especially now on everything. You're apparently gonna look at the new building requirements too. Well, I think the builders in the area would like to see what's gonna come their way. These meetings should be open. The discussion should be open for the ACC to discuss policies.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. And certainly, if we're changing the rules for builders, I think it's wise for the committee and the club to get builder input.
All right, but they should open up the meetings, because every time I go there and I happen to see a policy on there, the second they're done with their agenda, we're going to executive session. You never get to hear the reasons why they're changing these policies and how they're coming about to change these policies. The ACC policies affect the members the most, and we should be able to listen to those discussions. Thank you.
And I'll speak with the committee and see if, some of those discussions, they can open those up and have them in a more public forum.
Hi, Lisa Shelton again. I'm at 121 Spring Lake. The Policy Review Committee had a meeting this past Monday, and neither of the board liaisons were present at the meeting, but I wanted to make this information available to you because as the secretary, I have not been able to publish our notes internally to the committee members about what was discussed during that meeting. Interestingly enough, I went on the SharePoint site yesterday afternoon to do some work on those committee notes and to put some things that were on my computer in the public group document, and we've been locked out of the SharePoint site as of yesterday afternoon. So I wanted to make a comment that in the interest of us trying to be more transparent about what we were doing, we had a discussion in the meeting about putting forth notes that we could publish, things that didn't contain confidential information, but told the community what we were doing. And all of my work is on my computer. I'm sorry I won't be able to share it. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Going once, going twice. And I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Well, I thought we were just going to stay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all for coming. We really do appreciate your involvement.